Hey everyone, it's Brandy and welcome back to my channel, Brandy Janae's Book Show. As you can tell from the title of this video, today I'm here to do my Q1 stats for 2022. This first quarter is always a little weird because I'm like, I don't really have anything to compare it to because it's literally just the first 3 months of the year. This is a bit later than I would have liked it to be, but honestly, after listening to you guys in Discord, also trying to remember the fact that I said I wanted this channel to not be stressful because it's supposed to be a hobby, not something that I feel like is a job. Basically, I've been trying to allow myself to take some time for myself, basically. But we're here to do stats and check-ins for the first 3 months of the year. So overall, I read a total of 106 books, and over those 106 books, I read 28,607 pages. 37 of those books were print books, 56 were ebooks, 13 of them were audiobooks. Additionally, I had 67 rereads, which over half of the books that I read, which honestly I'm not surprised by because literally every other day I'm like, okay, I want to reread that now. But yeah. And then for that time period, I didn't have any books that I didn't have. So let's move over into some of the charts and graphs and things. The first chart that I wanted to show off, we're looking at the books read per month for the first one. This one was a bit interesting because if you follow my wrap-ups, then you know I had 1 month that was just like, I read a bunch, like way more than I was expecting. A lot of that had to do with rereads. Also, a lot of it was manga rereads. It was a lot, but also still I am shocked and proud of myself because I'm like, how did I manage to read that much and it still didn't feel like I was reading a bunch? Like I was flying through stuff, but it felt like I was barely reading anything at all because I was just enjoying what I was reading at the time. In January, I read 24 books. February, I read 57. And then March, I read 25. Moving over into the next chart, which is reading method. And I kind of went over this one a little bit when I went over like my general stats for the first 3 months, but here it's just, it's shown in a pie chart is what it's called. And actually, now that I'm thinking about it, sorry if some of the things that I say is like slightly skewed from what you guys see. I did like delete some of the things and like download the graphs and things like that, but what I'm looking at now also is including like what I've read so far in April. So if numbers I'm saying are slightly off for that, sorry about that. Moving over into genre breakdown, I did my best to try to simplify this as much as possible. Normally I don't like to track subgenres, but I'm trying it out this year because at least in certain categories I wanted to like be able to see, okay, I've read this much of this type of subgenre. So basically you can see my biggest section is graphic novel. What I did from there is that my subgenre section is where I have it broken down, where it's like I can split graphic novel into mangas, comic, and I have my fantasies broken up. I feel like I'm going back and forth with this. I try to keep up with it, but sometimes I get a little tired of breaking down things so much. But I have stuff sectioned into like urban fantasy, epic fantasy. I have a historical listed, and I'm not sure if that's listed as a fantasy as well. This is the only problem that comes up with doing subgenres, because sometimes like you really can't tell. I'm sure that I can go in and label it instead of just like urban, epic, historical, I can put like urban fantasy. Maybe I'll have to go back and do that because this does get a little confusing, but this is just a general breakdown and I'm just liking seeing where this is at. I don't strive to read a specific thing. I just like reading a specific genre until I get tired of it. Then I'm like, okay, let's move on to something else I like, so that I don't get into a reading slump. Moving over into the next chart or graph or whatever that I wanted to show you guys, and that's actually the star rating breakdown. All of these are gonna look pretty similar. You can see the color coding and go based off of that. I'm not really shocked by this. It's basically about what it was over the past year or so. I haven't had any 1.5 or 2 stars. I haven't had anything that I'm like, no. So we'll see if I get any of those by the end of the year. Okay, so the next thing that I'm going to quickly show off is the age category or the audience for the books. So my biggest section is still YA, but I have like a pretty good adult section. I'm really happy with this. I think that will increase throughout the year because I've been leaning more towards trying to read adult fantasy and sci-fi. The next one that I have to show off is kind of replacing like similar premise but set up slightly different. So previously I had like rereads versus first time reads. This time this is like an author based, I guess, prompt, and it is set up more of like a debut author, a new to me author, or something that I've read from before. The spreadsheet does track rereads, but there's like no graph or chart for it. I don't think I accidentally deleted anything. So I think it's just like part of the monthly stats, but not, like I said, a chart. Author status is what it's labeled as. I haven't actually read anything that I consider debut because I decided what I'm going to do for debut is like it has to be released in the year that I'm currently reading it in, and then obviously has to be the author's first work. Otherwise it would go into the new to me section, and then once I've read at least one book from that author, then they will go into the read before. So I haven't read any debut works this year so far, but as you can see, the majority of the books that I've read were from authors that I've read before. I think that that's most likely going to stay that way because I tend to reach for books from authors that I have read and enjoyed before over trying out new authors. The next one, which is also kind of a different variation of one that I've had previously, is books based off of series. I think previously it was like series versus standalones. This one also has companion novels and then unknown. I don't see me using that option often. Everything else is pretty self-explanatory if it's a standalone part of a series or companion novels. As you can see, part of a series is like the biggest section. I'm pretty sure that will remain the biggest section throughout the year because, like I said previously, when I was doing these stats videos, I tend to reach for books that are part of a series because I get attached to characters and I'm like, I just want to keep reading about them and their lives. This is kind of just an overview of where I got the books from that I've been reading. And then I think what the last thing is that I wanted to touch on as far as the charts was publication years. I think I had started to do this last year, but then I got super overwhelmed because other than like writing down the publication date and like my review journal, honestly I don't care about publication date if I'm being completely honest, but I thought this would be something interesting to track. And I saw I think it was Kayla from Books and Lala, when she was going over her stats, she had this like super simplified, and I was just like, okay, I like having this thing super simplified like that, so I decided to give it a try, and I think I am enjoying it so far like this. I have it split into 3 sections, as you guys can see from the pie chart on the screen. I have it set up on anything before 2021, then 2021 releases, and then 2022. I originally was gonna just do before 2022 and 2021, but I know sometimes I do pick up books from 2020, like the previous publishing year, and I, for whatever reason, don't get to them that year, but you know, I get to them like pretty soon in the following year. So that's why I decided I'm gonna keep track of the current year, like new releases for the current year, the previous year, and then anything else before that year. That's everything for the charts for now. So let me go over into the last couple things that I want to talk about. The next thing is my 5-star reads, and honestly this was not as much as I was expecting it to be. I did have more 5 stars than this, but I do limit this to anything that I haven't read before. The only 5-star read that I had for the first quarter was Black Girl Call Home by Jasmine Mans, which is a collection of poetry. And honestly, I don't even know if I really feel like it's 5 stars. Like, I gave it 5 stars because I was having a hard time reading it and I did really enjoy it. If I'm being completely honest, like based off of personal enjoyment, it would get like maybe like 4, maybe 4.5, but it was really good and I'm glad that I finally got to it. The only other thing that I wanted to touch on was what I read of my 12 must reads and ratings for those. In case you guys have not seen that video, I will make sure to link it in the iCards for the full video so you can see all the books that I put on that list at the beginning of the year. I started in February pretty much, or I finished the first thing in February, and that was The Wrath and the Dawn by Renee Ahdieh. This one got 3.5 stars. The next one that I finished off was The Love Con by Cerisa Glass. This one also got 3.5 stars. The next one was another contemporary romance, and that was The Spanish Love Deception by Elena Armas. I'm pretty sure I just talked about this one in my March wrap up possibly. This one got 3 stars. Unfortunately, haven't really been hitting it out the park with most of the adult romances that I've been reading so far this year. Also finally finished Beast of Prey by Ayana Gray, and this one got 3.5 stars. And then the final one that I finished off that list was Practice Makes Perfect Volume 1 by Yui Hanamiya, but this one got 4 stars. This was like an adult romance manga and it was actually really cute. Here is like the spreadsheet that I have for my 12 must reads. Little sneak peek because I also finished one already in April, and I'm going to be working on this one and possibly this one before the end of the month. So I'm actually making my way through this list. I read 5 of them in the first 3 months. Honestly, at this point, I'm really just trying to get through all of them as much as I possibly can. I would like to finish these before the end of the year, mostly because I don't know if I showed this off to you guys. Maybe I showed it briefly, but I did also create this one, which is like a bigger list of things that aren't like the top priority, but I also want to get to these. So I'm also trying to make my way through this list as well. It's been a great first 3 months of the year. I've been reading way more than I thought I would. I've been very much in a reading mood. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that that's everything that I needed to talk about. Hopefully it all makes sense once it's edited together, because I was kind of just like going and going and going at the beginning of this video. Let me know how your first quarter of the year went in terms of reading. If you have any stats or things like that that you'd like to share with me, leave all of that down in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up as well as subscribing if you have not already. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you again in the next one. Bye.